Tennessee Williams' hero in Orpheus Descending, Val Xavier, notes, "We're all of us under a lifelong sentence to solitary confinement inside our own lonely skins for as long as we live on this earth." Williams' characters mimic ourselves in our search for connection, for love, both spiritual and physical. Amanda in Glass Menagerie knows that the love of the gentleman caller will heal her daughter Laura, but alas, he has promised his love to another. Tennessee, the man, was tormented by the isolation of lust at the expense of real connection. For sex without love, as Blanche Dubois found in A Streetcar Named Desire, drives us to madness. Joining us in our extended celebration of the 100th anniversary of Tennessee Williams' birth is Zander Brietzkie, distinguished author, American modern literature expert, and professor of literature at Columbia University. His work, American Drama in the Age of Film, University of Alabama, 2007, was named a finalist for the Richard Wall Memorial Award. Zander, welcome back. What can you say about Tennessee Williams and love?
Well, I can say a lot. I think we will say a lot because that's the essence of the plays, is the pursuit of love, the connections between one character and another, and the ramifications and consequences of desire and love.
Mm-hmm. So love. What about sex without love?
There's that too. There's sex without love, and there's also love without sex. All in Tennessee Williams. They're often separate, and
as it was seemingly in his life. Quite a bit as well.
Or maybe, I mean, I think a lot of us, maybe even still in the 2011, we can still relate to that. I mean, the big plays are in the 40s and 50s, and I think contextually there's a reason for some of those splits between desire, sex, and love.
My gosh, I'm thinking about actually these sex capades of this week with Arnold Schwarzenegger and then Congressman Weiner, and thinking about actually the separations between love and sex in both those causes.
Yes.
Remarkable.
Yeah.
Back to Williams. Does anyone find love or love and sex in the same place and time in Tennessee Williams?
Well,
or is it all truncated?
No, it's not. But it might be ironic because when I was thinking about that, the couple that seems perfectly in love and perfectly sexually happy is Stella and Stanley in Streetcar.
Very true.
And I think that's tough for an audience to swallow. And it does come with some, I mean, Stella is thinking about that at the end of the play a little bit, but then she turns and decides, all right, I'll stay. I'm not going to believe what my sister said happened. I'm going to trust and believe in my husband because that's the future. And I think in that sense, the future is that Williams is portraying is not a bright one.
You don't take any hope in her pronouncement to stay in her marriage.
Well, hope for her, maybe, but the play is I think devastating. I mean, it's Williams talking about the price of progress and change, social, political. May be necessary, but it's not necessarily better, and the future is not necessarily bright.
Do you think then that the fact that they have a good relationship, that Stanley and Stella have a good relationship, and that's not enough to get them through? Do you think that is that a statement that Williams is making? That's not enough. That love is not enough.
I don't know if it's a statement because I think what's really great. One of the great things about the play is it's good enough for them. I mean, they are the harbingers of the future, and their progeny, that baby that's delivered, that is, that's the future. And I don't think it's altogether a positive thing. I don't know how. But it is. But for them, that couple, they would view it as such. Now, as Blanche is leaving and going to the asylum, being let out a completely destroyed individual, that statement about her fate and what's become of her is, I think, awful. And that's where
But
I think that's where Williams' sympathies lie.
But she's a loveless woman. She's a woman who's never able to find love, had to rely upon the kindness of strangers, and was an interruption in the marriage of her sister.
Well, that's not entirely true, though. In the sense that, I mean, one of the things I love in the play is that, you know, she finds this guy, you know, Stanley's partner, Mitch, who she would never have looked at twice in her heyday. But now circumstances are such that they're thrown together, and while she's a bit condescending towards him, that changes, and it's in the process of change, and he really loves her. And she, I think, begins to love him, and she has a great Williams phrase. You know, he's the, you know, the cleft in the rock for her to, you know, for her sanctuary. So he doesn't use the word sanctuary, but that she can find rest there. And there's a moment in the play where you think, you know, she could have happiness, and her sister wants that for her. So that she's come in as this intrusion, but there's this thought in the play that, that Mitch is going to marry her, and everybody will be happy. But it doesn't last, and for no real good reason, Stanley ruins that and destroys that relationship and destroys her. And Mitch is destroyed, and Stella and Blanche is destroyed, and nothing good comes of it.
More about the impossibility of happy unions.
Well, yeah, and it could.
You know.
But what's great is that you see a moment where it could happen. It's not impossible. It would be possible, except for a blatant, gratuitous, revengeful action on the part of Stanley when he was the one with the power. He didn't need to do it, and he does it anyway. And I think it's violent and it's awful.
But then some would argue that from a karmic standpoint, it always meant to happen as an interruption to that possibility for happiness and love for her.
Maybe. Although I mean, things have happened to Blanche, and one of the things, and it's a difficult play to stage because she's unlikable in a lot of ways. Particularly in her own kind of racism that would strike a contemporary audience as wholly negative in a way that it wouldn't have struck an audience at the time in that way.
So true.
She's stuck, and she's unable to change and progress, and yet through it all, there's still the possibility it could have happened. There's no reason for it not to happen, and Williams does hold that out, and then obviously it's ended.
Now, I want to talk a bit about William's mother, his real-life mother. You know, she was the daughter of a minister, and so there's this suggestion of the puritanical, hard-working, and loveless. You know, does her background and demeanor shed any light on the love question with Tennessee Williams?
I mean, probably, and maybe more with, you know, Tennessee Williams, you know, himself. Not necessarily to read, you know, too much.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the marriage.
There's aspects of Tennessee Williams that are, despite the kind of sexual promiscuity in his own life, he's kind of, in some ways, kind of prudish and a product of his time, and certainly aspects of the puritanical run through, particularly something like Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, and the character of Brick, who his wife Maggie refers to him as I think at one point as an ass-aching Puritan, with a certain kind of strict morality that is unable to broker human weakness and the fact that people are imperfect and are capable of many things beyond what he might have been able to imagine.
Happy to be a part of this festival. I know it's our first annual festival, so I'm very excited about that.
It's been a wonderful opportunity, so many different films, different topics, and I've enjoyed it.
I personally had harbored a desire or an ambition to do a film festival, but had not gone about doing anything for it because I knew it was a lot of work and I didn't have the time. So luckily for us, Dennis decided to do it.
I'm very happy to be accepted here at Dennis's great festival, and you know, when you put a lot of work into something and you get acknowledged, it makes you feel good.
So this week, I think I spent less time thinking about Tennessee Williams than I did the first time that we prepared for this. And but a lot of thought went into the questions. What's your preparation been?
Probably similar. I mean, when you mentioned that you wanted to talk about Tennessee Williams and love, I mean, that's the play. Those are the plays. It's Tennessee Williams. So I thought it would be, in thinking about that, I mean, I was interested in sort of, you know, monitoring what my visceral reactions to that would be, you know, when we talked, because I think that is what I think still draws people to. That's why you want to see the play. You want to see what the human relationships are. You want to see characters, their pursuits of love, their aspirations for love, the objects of their love and desire, and all too often, you know, what comes of that is, you know, not altogether successful. But it's
Yeah, exactly. Not altogether successful. I did a bit of reading, though, this week, I must admit, about an alternative play. It was actually the predecessor to The Glass Menagerie, and I forget its title, but it has a happy ending.
Right.
It's actually a happy ending, and actually, and Laura and the gentleman caller hook up.
yeah.
As a happy ending,
Yeah, it's terrible.
But they had to get rid of that one as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, see, for me as a kid, when I was a 15-year-old, you know, reading The Glass Menagerie, and then from there going out there and deciding to read everything that he ever wrote on my own, it was because there was something unfinished and incomplete about it all. There were no happy endings, and it kind of gave me, I guess, it gave me some hope in my own life, because at 15, how many happy endings really? I mean, really, it was the struggle, you know, the spiritual struggle that kids go through at that age, and it was just, for me, it was just the statement of that, because people were unhappy, and you know, they still made the most of it.
Right. Well, the Glass Menagerie. So, I mean, there is a quasi happy ending. I mean, that's probably too banal to say, but that Tom leaves is right.
I mean, that he can pursue his love of writing.
Yeah, that he's getting out. I mean, it's complicated, and it's certainly qualified by the disaster that the other members of the family are surely to face. And at the same time, I mean, when I read Glass Menagerie, maybe initially, I had that desire for the gentleman caller and Laura to, you know, they're going to actually get together, but.
The character Jim, by the way, Jim was actually fashioned after one of his fraternity brothers, who was just a nice guy.
Yeah,
you know,
well,
and
that's the thing. I mean, when I look
you want to see her happy with a nice guy.
I saw a production later when I was probably post or in graduate school, and I realized that the gentleman caller is really, you know, a real loser. I mean, he's kind of a loser. He's on the downs. He's actually not going to make it himself, and his life is quite opposite the life that Tom will lead, and that things aren't going to probably turn out so well for him either.
Well, wait a second. Tom grows up to become Tennessee Williams.
Right.
Are you saying that his choking on a bottle cap in 1983, the misery of his personal life, or are you talking about the fact that he became one of the most acclaimed poets in the history of the English language?
Yeah, the second, number two. Number two.
And I said poets. Actually, he is. He is a poet. He is a poet foremost. But back to love. You know, back to love. You had me thinking a bit also about the film Baby Doll, and it's actually the predecessor on the stage, which was 27 Wagonfuls of Cotton.
Yeah, yes.
And also the unrequited love of her husband and Baby Doll. And then the character that comes in, actually the Italian, who there seems to be more chemistry between them than to her husband, and so there's also this impossibility. Are you up on that particular?
Well, I am on the play. I would be. I would be loath to call any of those relationships loving relationships.
Well, I guess, okay, lusting relationships.
there's
Am
a lot
I
of
using
it.
the
I mean,
words interchangeably at this point?
There's a lot, but I mean, I think that play is particularly cruel. I mean, the woman is very innocent, and she's has what I would consider, a very healthy sexuality that her husband has, I think, taken advantage of. And then the Italian who comes in, the owner of the.
You mean potential sexuality, because she signed on for virginity until her, is it her 20th birthday? I'm blanking. Well, anyways, the contract. I mean, there's a contract made between her and her husband that they're not going to actually have sex until she's become mature enough to handle it emotionally. So I agree with you. There's a healthy sensuality that she has, but her sexuality has been completely unexplored.
Yeah, well, it's probably been explored by the time the play is over.
I love that movie.
And it's.
I think I might have mentioned before. I saw that movie. Like, it just kind of showed up one day on I don't know, HBO or something, and it just really. I just loved it. It was riveting.
It's a brutal play because as the characters play on commerce and 27 wagons full of cotton that he's going to gin out every day, while he's going to come and
court.
Well, sleep with the guy's wife or whatever in not particularly a nice way. I don't think either. So it's a frightening play, I think. It's even potentially kind of chilling if it's done right. I mean, there's a level of.
I'm thinking of the film. I'm thinking of the film version. I'm thinking of the film version, which is kind of like there's kind of a hopeful ending. Maybe he'll come back for her and the old lady.
That's not in the play.
That's not in the play.
That's not in the play.
But then again, back to Tennessee and his own relationships, his own personal relationships, and certainly in. Tom in the biography of him, Tom by Leverick. There's a lot in there about kind of his experimentation with love, personal relationship, and intimacy. At one time, he was actually in love with a young woman, and he was courting her, and eventually, I think she rejected him. I don't know whether he was going through emotions kind of automatically at that point, or whether it was his, he had kind of a maybe ambiguous sexuality at that particular point. I'm not really sure. But at least there was that interest. He had at least, there was an interest in that area. And then when he really became more determinedly homosexual, he had just lots of very, very difficult and impossible relationships. The object of his affection was not always, returning, his interest, and then there's lots of kind of serial, sexual experiences, kind of that the classic, the baths kind of experience, that anonymous sexuality. So what else were you thinking about this week as we were headed for the big day to talk about this?
Well, I was thinking about the in the different relationships in the plays and the pursuits of love and the fact that characters aren't able to sustain relationships.
Mm-hmm. Which ones?
Oh, pretty much all the plays, all the great plays.
Well, let's pick one.
Streetcar, Cat on a Tin Roof. Those in maybe those particularly. Those are two of my favorites. I mean, they're both filled with sex and love, and also the absence of sex and the absence of love from different pairings of characters. I mean, I think consistently dramatized is the inability to sustain these relationships for a long period of time, which I think is something that we all relate to, because we all we want to have loving, intimate relationships on the one hand, or at least we say we do, but to actually have them is you know it's hard, and I think the plays show that it's not easy. It's not just we meet, we're attracted, we're going to get married, we're going to stay together happily ever after the rest of our lives. I mean, most of our lives aren't. I mean, people I know, life isn't like that, and I think the plays give validation to how hard it is to be in the world.
So Tennessee is really giving a taste of the reality of relationships in the real world.
Well, yeah, the way that's what an artist does. I mean, he crystallizes that, and you can see that. And I think all the relationships, particularly in the plays I'm in, Streetcar and Cat on a Tin Roof, are fascinating in terms of what you can read into it. And I mean, I'm only interested in plays generally as sort of analogs for my own life and things I can get from them, and things that I agree with or have experienced or haven't experienced yet, but maybe would like to, and you can see as sort of guidelines. And I think that he explores those things, a terrain, an emotional terrain that I would like to go there. Or I'm grateful that he's plowed that field.
You mean the depth of the emotions between the people, even the pain?
Yes. Well, because that's part of it, right? I mean,
it is. It is
no
part
love
of it.
Without pain, right? And that's part of what I think we enjoy in a healthy way. I mean, because that's why, frankly, we turn away from love so easily, because it's painful. I mean, and nobody wants to talk about that. How painful.
You mean in life?
Sure.
That we turn away from love because it's so
all the time.
painful.
Well, it's painful.
Well,
Notice.
Let me just say this. I mean, and I've said this from time to time. The times when we've been the most infatuated and in love, aren't those usually followed by the moments of greatest suffering that we've ever experienced in our lives? Usually, they seem to dovetail. Like there are balanced relationships. There aren't too many balanced relationships in Williams. Is that because he's mimicking the real world?
Well, I don't know. I don't think most things are balanced, really. We have odd notions of what's balanced.
But what should be?
I don't think love is not balanced, is it? I mean, you're giving away yourself. There's not much way. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we turn away from this, because we want to have our equilibrium. We want to have balance. We want to pursue our own things. We don't want to be concerned with the other. And then, of course, there's if we get too involved, what's the person going to do? They're going to die. Or they're going to dump you.
They're going to dump you, or they're going to die.
Right. And one of those things is going to happen.
So why even get involved?
Well, that's because
maybe Tennessee was onto something.
I like, but the involvement, that's not.
So are you saying that these are our fantasies, and these are the things that he expresses in his plays are actually our fantasies, things that we have a curiosity about experiencing ourselves?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I won't speak for people. I mean, I do. I think it's. I mean, I think the emotional investment is what's significant.
Make me. I'm thinking right now about actually his loving relationship with his sister Laura, and in real life with his sister Rose, completely in parallel, one with the other. And there is something really quite profound and wonderful about that relationship. I happen to have two sisters, and and from time to time I've had a wonderful, loving relationship with both of them, not necessarily at the same time or or sustainedly, but there is something about, I think, his love for her, which is. Well, I don't know. Is it incestuous? I mean, some of the critics will say that there is the possibility of that in their relationship as well, or is that just the kind of the skeptic in these people? Why can't they leave that relationship? At least that relationship, leave that one alone. They just got to find. They get paid by the word. Isn't that it?
Well, there's always something more. But with that, what is true, I think, about that relationship is I mean, he cared for her. He paid for her care past his death. I think she died in the 1990s.
Sometime in the 90s, he died in '83. Of course, he abandoned her and allowed her to be lobotomized.
Exactly. And he felt really bad about it. That's what are you going to do? I mean, he did the best he could. He made some choices. He let some things happen. I mean, he wasn't going to be Tennessee Williams, great writer, being with her all the time. He had to leave, he felt, and he paid the cost of that. Which, I mean, that's part of the. I mean, but that's sort of the love bargain. Is you don't. There's no way out, and there's no way to protect yourself from your feelings of inadequacy and guilt, and what could I have done more? Could I have saved her? Could
And of course, it was the pain that he experiences that always seems to bring him on to writing another great work. I mean, the catastrophe, the great essay they wrote for the New York Times, The Catastrophe of Success, basically talking about the times when there was no suffering, and guess what? There were no great plays either. Right. And those horrible times and the deep regret and suffering, the estrangement from his father. I mean, just to speak for a moment about that, I was watching once a little kind of a biographical documentary of Williams in his life, and he talked about the time when his dad pulled him out of the university and stuck him in the shoe factory to work for a year, and how they would ride by horse and buggy to get there, a full hour for them to get to the shoe factory, and how it would take him the entire hour, and he'd be ruminating and thinking deeply, what can I say, preparing a phrase to say to his father, and then by the time they arrived there, it was too late even to utter that phrase. I mean, I'll be honest, the estrangement, see, love, the estrangement from one's father. I mean, I have to say, my dad's been dead for many years, but that estrangement, I experienced that. And having to kind of like rehearse lines to say, not to have that kind of that fluid relationship with one's, parent of the same gender. This is a very important love question as well. And clearly that was a motivation for Tennessee Williams to do great things in fantasy.
And it's one of the great images in the Glass Menagerie, the absent father whose portrait silently overlooks the entire play, and he's referenced by Amanda, his wife.
But it's sadistic. I always found that portrait sadistic, that kind of overlooking, almost like comical. Like, what a joke! What a poor joke on this family. That Amanda's actually has set up a little shrine on the mantelpiece for him. I mean, how pathetic.
Well, it's hard. I mean, I think
he's coming back, right? He'll be back.
I think it's really human because you see Amanda for 2 hours. I mean, she drives you crazy. Yeah. I mean, you can no wonder why Tom leaves.
She does.
I mean, if you were a husband, there's no mystery as to why the husband left, and yet. After he's gone, a mythology is created around that, and then part of the continuation and the story of the men leave, which is Tom does.
You mean the gentleman caller leaves, the father leaves, Tom leaves, they all leave, men leave.
They're going to leave, and Amanda, she's going to drive him away too.
But if I could just add one thing. Certainly, I think it's some of the stills from the Paul Newman directed version of the play. There are some stills showing Amanda, holding Laura in her arms the moment after Tom has left, and that there is something kind of uplifting about these circumstances, which is that it's brought them closer together in sadness and in loss, but at least they have...
Yeah, that's not going to last.
Well, okay, at least for the shot, it was there.
She didn't pay the electric bill. The lights went out.
You're right.
Nothing,
I forgot about that.
Horrible little St. Louis tenement. Tom...
Of course, the real-life apartment where Tom grew up in St. Louis was not at all the abysmal tenement that's portrayed.
That's what we see. Yes, he had several houses. They kept actually a string of houses.
He lived in the rectory in the
which got increasingly
granddaddy
nicer, actually, as time went on, and some of the family thing, because William's grandfather, while his father he was not close to, his grandfather was extremely close to, and was supportive, throughout Tennessee's early writing career, and he in fact would be one of the reasons for him to come home. And of course in real life too, the real Tennessee Williams, he didn't just walk out the door and not come back. He left and came back, and he left and he came back. For a span of years, he was going away to New York or going away to New Orleans, going away to college, to Iowa, but then coming back to St. Louis, coming back to St. Louis.
You make me think of two things right now, actually. Plays as hyperbole, the exaggeration of a well-written play, that Tom didn't simply leave. He, in real life, he came back repeatedly, and he was still a part of their lives. Why, I guess, why it is that we actually, that we read and are entertained by these plays, and what it is maybe tribally and experientially. I mean, the fact that we have plays, it's part of our tradition, it's part of our culture, it's a part of what it is that we do to understand ourselves and to enjoy things, but I think to also to learn. So we actually, we ratchet up certain emotions and circumstances in plays to give us a strong kind of a hit. But it's artificial. It's not real.
It's not artificial. It's real because
it is real.
It's absolutely real.
Okay.
It's very real. And with Glass Menagerie, the reason why you read it as a junior and senior in high school is the issue, whether you're a young man or a young woman, is staring right before you in terms of you're in the family, and you may be a family where everybody's squabbling and doesn't get along, but it may be a family where ostensibly everyone is supportive and loves one another. Nevertheless, all of them are faced with the very real challenge and future of striking out on their own. And Glass Menagerie at root is a play about striking out.
It is true.
Leaving.
It is true what you're saying. It's a universal.
And
universal.
you have to. And one of the things I think is really, real about Glass Menagerie is it doesn't just show, oh great, Tom's leaving. He's a man now. He's leaving and he's going to pursue his dream. I think that's, in the context of the play, a good thing. But, and certainly in terms of Tennessee Williams becoming a great writer, I'm grateful that he made that choice. As a person, personally, he's leaving and he's going to suffer from that the rest of his life, the way that we all remember, our family might have wanted us to do this or that, but at a certain point, if we're healthy, we go our way. If we're not healthy, we remain enmeshed and probably think Glass Menagerie is a terrible play.
You make me think of, actually, there's a quote by Williams about leaving, and I would just butcher it if I attempted it. It's about, actually, it's even if you don't have a good reason to leave, it's still a time to leave.
Well, you have to.
You gotta go. You gotta go. It's one of those. You've been watching the second installment of the Tennessee Williams Centenary, Love or the Lack of It. Please send your questions to bttelevision@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. For my guest, Zander Brietzkie, and for myself, W J O Reilly, be well and see you next time.
This is going to be an incredible, incredible episode. Yes!
Gotta live like, I wanna live, I wanna give, I wanna walk in the light of
Thank you.
And I say that for you to say, what is your dream? And when are you going to start taking action on it? You can do the same thing. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you all so much for coming today. I'm so honored you could be there. This is so exciting. My first show. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy the first episode of Adopted Behavior.
So you're not actually siblings?
No, we're actually actors hired to play a reality family.
I was on one of the first reality shows for people over 70. It was called Last to Die.
What happens when a middle-aged divorcee, an aging child star, and and a trampy Greek girl all live in the same apartment, pursuing the same dream to be an actress. Find out in tonight's episode of I Hate Actors. And a real stickler for the rules and a free spirit are both charged with managing the same theme restaurant. Find out in tonight's episode of Doc and Marty's Family Restaurant.
Hi, I'm Ray Wagner, and I'm the host of a brand new show here on eGarage.tv called Still Standing with Ray Wagner. It's a show that features live stand-up comedy, and then we do an interview in front of the people talking about comedy, and it requires an audience. So if you like watching it on the site, imagine how much more you'd love it here, because at the end, we end it with a make-out party. So if you like stand-up comedy or making out, make sure you check out Still Standing with Ray Wagner on eGarage.tv. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here for the first inaugural episode of a brand new show called Still Standing with Ray Wagner.
My mom actually has the recipe for diabetes. That's how deadly our food is.
It's like, you know what? I don't think I have an eating problem. Well, your car is filled with White Castle wrappers and stuff. Really?
I feel like a lesbian from the 80s comic. I'm distracted right now.
Honestly, I'm just hoping not to die alone so my cat doesn't eat my remains.
You can't marry a deaf girl though, man. I don't want blood on my hands. The TV gets so bad actually in the future. At one point we just hand over a camcorder to a bunch of Guidos and watch them get hepatitis for 12 episodes.
I want to thank everyone for being here. That's another episode of Still Standing with Ray Wagner. I'm Ray Wagner. Thank you guys so much. See you next time.
Thank you, Ray.
Clap,
Good evening, and welcome everyone to the first ever taping of The Fog of Time. We're coming to you live from Long Island City, right underneath the 7 train. We're going to be bringing you guests from throughout time and bring them here in the studio and let them answer questions in their own words.
I ended up in jail for it, as you often do, when you're trying to completely take over a country.
I don't drink or eat blood.
Okay, well.
I bathe in blood.
You bathe in blood,
I
okay.
bathe in blood.
You bring him in, I kill him now. I'll tell you this.
I am a free spirit, as they call it, you know.
Because you capitalist pigs, you don't understand.
But I hope from watching this show, you got to see a little bit of what was underneath that. And I hope you tune in next time as we delve into more characters like that. Have a good night.
Confirm camera 1. Confirm camera 2.
Thank you for being here for the first inaugural episode of a brand new show called Still Standing with Ray Wagner.
Drew a pentagram on the ground. I was like, oh, great Satan, take me. I will give you my soul if you stop this music.
I'm Darren Fogg, and I'm going to be the host for the show tonight and every night as we strive this journey through time and space.
First of all, you should buy a Volkswagen because I tell you to.
You ask, what is breaking through? It's a state of mind.
Good evening and welcome to Be Kinda Late Show. Okay, Jack, that's fabulous. I'm gonna get you to draw things first. Let me get my marker.
Welcome to the very first episode of Along with Claire.
Hi, bitches! Guys?
Today is the first episode of Absolutely.
Is this the hospital?
And if that means hitting them sometime, then you have to hit them.
capitalist pigs you don't understand.
This is going to be an incredible, incredible episode.
Flying cars, there's still people who haven't figured out the escalator.